Howdy y'all and welcome back to the channel. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the newest film in the reboot Planet of the Apes franchise, this time revolving around a new main character, Noah. Now this movie takes place, I think, about 300 years since the events of War for the Planet of the Apes and Caesar. Now I'm a big fan of the Planet of the Apes franchise. I just rewatched the reboot films and I think that that's just about as good a trilogy as you can expect from this. So whenever they were coming out with a fourth film and with a new director, well, not new, but new to the franchise, Wes Ball, I was a little concerned. You know, he was following up Matt Reeves, who would go on to direct The Batman after War for the Planet of the Apes. I know this film is basically supposed to start off a new trilogy with new characters and a new time, so was it going to live up to the other three films that are basically universally loved? And right away, I think that it was a smart decision to have this not take place directly after Caesar in War for the Planet of the Apes. I think it was smart to have this hundreds of years, several generations, as they put it in the movie, after Caesar's time. This way we kind of see the long-term effects that Caesar had on ape civilization. And I was thinking during this movie, it really feels like you're watching a period piece, but with apes. You know, you're watching a civilization grow, you're seeing the effects of religion, you know, different apes' interpretation of meaning, I guess, of what Caesar said during his time, people twisting Caesar's words for their own gain. I mean, I think we can all agree we see that nowadays in our civilization, but it was really interesting because we went from having this one ape clan for the most part in War for the Planet of the Apes. Now we have a clan of apes where our main character Noah lives that doesn't really concern themselves with any other apes out there. There are several ape civilizations that don't really know that one another exists. They don't know the history. They don't know where they come from. And for Noah, he doesn't even know that humans at one point were the dominant species. As far as he knows, apes have always just kind of been this way, which is just a really interesting concept because thus far you in the franchise have apes basically battling humans, and now humans are sort of like a mythological thing. You know, they're like an animal that's going extinct. You don't really see one anymore. And for me, seeing apes sort of go through this, and particularly the main character, further brings forth the question of humanity that's so present in all of these films, in that if apes act like humans, they're smart as humans, they talk like humans, what really makes them different? It's all really interesting questions that the Apes franchise brings forward. That's part of why I love this series, and this time we get to kind of experience those questions through the eyes of a new lead character, Noah, who is very different from Caesar, right? Whenever I went into this movie, I sort of made that mistake of, well, he has to be related to Caesar in some way, right? He kind of looks like him. You know, what's an ape franchise without a descendant of Caesar or Caesar himself? But Noah, very apparently, I don't know if he is a descendant of Caesar, but he is his own character. We are not getting Caesar 2.0. This is a new lead character. He has a lot of questions about the world. He doesn't know a lot about the world. So throughout the film, he's sort of on a hero's journey, but he's also on a journey of self-discovery and figuring out what the world is around him. For the longest time, he was forbidden from going into this abandoned city, but once he finally ventures into the city, he discovers landmarks showing humans to be walking, talking beings. He meets another ape who is a highlight of this film, who tells stories about Caesar and what he really meant in his time and what humans used to be. It's all really interesting questions, and I thought that it was very well played by Owen Teague, the actor who plays Noah in the movie, that he's a very self-confident ape, I guess, in a lot of ways. Not necessarily within his clan, but he is very brave, but he is also just uncertain about the world around him. So you see him sort of absorb it all like a sponge throughout the film. It was a very interesting journey that we follow with Noah. He is a very interesting lead character. I'm looking forward to more movies with him in the franchise. Another standout actor in this film is Kevin Durant, who plays Proximus Caesar, sort of the villain of the movie, who is twisting Caesar's words He learns about ancient Roman history from another human character, and this was a pleasant surprise who popped up in here, so I won't spoil it here, but it is a familiar face, not previously in the franchise, but an actor we all know and love. But Proximus Caesar has very much learned from ancient Rome, and he's trying to sort of be the next Caesar, but he's not living up to what Caesar really believed in. He really just wants power and to further the evolution of apes within his time. But Kevin Durant was a very good performer in this movie, and right now he's kind of on a bit of a heater because I really liked him in Abigail, the vampire ballerina movie that came out in April. But he was a very convincing villain, very good in the mocap suit, very well done by him. Freya Allen plays the human girl in this movie, and I felt like her performance was very stoic, but I feel like that's what the performance called for because she's very much a human on a set mission. You get a lot out of her personality by the end of the movie. She's someone who's very uncertain about apes, and in a lot of ways, I could see her and Noah coming to, I guess, blows throughout the rest of the trilogy. Like, this movie at its core really does feel like a lot of setup, but it is still in itself a good movie. Now, Freya Allen's performance, let me get back to that. I didn't love it compared to Owen Teague and Kevin Durant, but that doesn't mean that she was bad. She was just very stoic throughout the movie, so I'm hoping to see a little bit more depth from that character as we further go into this new trilogy. But yeah, the world building and the character building of this movie was excellent. It very much feels like the rise of the Planet of the Apes of this trilogy, where if you go back on my rewatch review for Rise, just compared to the next two movies in the Planet of the Apes franchise, it felt like a lot of setup. It's still a good movie, but it's a lot of setup. Kingdom very much feels like that, so I'm excited to see where the story goes from here, but it feels like the main purpose of this movie was to get us accommodated to what the world looks like now, introduce us to our lead characters, introduce us to our supporting characters, and I thought that it was very successful there. Now, I haven't mentioned the CGI so far in this movie, but it looks absolutely incredible. The apes have never looked realer. The entire movie is CGI, mocap, and completely sold me on it. I love how far the technology has gotten within just the last 7 years since War for the Planet of the Apes. It looks outstanding. Now, like I said before, this very much feels like the setup movie in this new trilogy. That doesn't make it bad, but it creates times where we are getting those world-building moments that are important, but it left me wanting to get to, not the next action set piece, but the next, like, plot point. You know, you get a lot of moments of self-reflection from Noah, and it created times where I was a little bored, but the movie itself is not boring. It's just a slight flaw in the movie that makes me not bump it up to the level of, like, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, where at that point, we had those moments of self-reflection, but I was so invested in the characters. It's just the first story with new characters. It's natural that you're gonna wait for the next, I guess, plot point to hit. Overall, I love the Apes franchise. This seems like a very worthy addition to it, and it makes me really excited for where they're gonna go next. The next movie is probably going to be in like 3 years. That tends to be the cadence whenever they get into a trilogy standpoint, so we got to wait a while for the next movie. But I'm excited to see where they go next in this franchise. But what did you think of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? Have you had an opportunity to go out and see it yet? Let me know what you think of it down below in the comments, and if you like this video, be sure to subscribe for more. Bye, y'all.